Hello, this is Soundout here, and welcome to the 2021 rundown for the Power Rangers Lightning Collection. Consistently inconsistent. It's morphin' time! We are strong, we are tough, we're invincible. So for those unaware, the rundown is a video series I do where I chronicle every single figure released in a year for a line, giving my short, brief thoughts on each of them. And it does get pretty extensive at times, so I hope you like the format. If you haven't seen previous rundowns on this channel, you can check them out in a playlist I'll link at the end of the video. And you can also check out the Master of the Universe, Masterverse, and G.I. Joe Classified series rundowns that I've done previously this month. So take a look if you haven't, and check out other videos on the channel. We're not going to go over the basics of the line. We're on year 3 now. We know how Lightning Collection works. The articulation hasn't changed much. Everybody still comes with civilian heads and accessories such as effect parts, and we'll discuss what comes with each figure as well. Overall, I'm not going to be mentioning hands, so if you're wondering a quick rundown of all the hands they come with, we're not doing that. It's just, it feels like we don't need it now. They're just hands. But we're going to look through every single figure released in 2021. Now, that being said, it was a bit of a confusing mess. There's not really too many ways to justify what released in 2021 due to all the shipping delays and the port issues and the production trouble and just getting things out to people. So I have some rules on the rundown as to what categorizes a release for a year. So for 2021, if it was a retail release or a fan channel, it had to release at 3 different retailers. And released means pre-orders shipped and arrived or found in a physical store. And then for exclusive releases, they had to be either available through the store they're exclusive to or Hasbro Pulse to qualify. I want to give a shout out to Josh, also known as @LivingRangerKey on Twitter, who also runs @LightningFigPR on Twitter. He is like the primary news source for me for Lightning Collection stuff. He's got a great catalog, and his channel, Toku Topics, has a great series that does Lightning Collection news every Saturday. So I really recommend it if you're wanting to keep up with the line. I reached out to him on Twitter because I wanted to kind of make sure that I got my list correct as to what actually released under my rules and guidelines. So if something isn't here, it's going to be a 2022 release. So bigger examples, the Zeo 2-pack of the Zeo Pink Ranger, Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger, didn't make it out to GameStop in the US, so it didn't qualify, even though it released internationally. Things like that. So if something's not here, it's going to get covered in 2022 because it didn't meet the qualifications. But thank you to Josh, because without him, I would have had no clue exactly what came out. He's been tracking all the releases and where people got them, and I appreciate his help on this matter. Now, next I want to talk about the problems with the line. Now, usually I don't like to put the negative stuff up front because it kind of feels like it sours the experience, but there's been some problems this year, especially, and it's problems that have been persisting for years to come. So if you don't really care about the problems or the issues with the paint or the quality of the figures, skip to that timestamp and go skip to the figures themselves. But we got to talk about this. It's my duty as a reviewer. I got to talk about the problems, not just the highlights. So let's get to it. I want to say a special shout out to my friend Psychoos, who is on Twitter. Go check him out. He's got some really funny memes a lot of the time, and he's really helped out because he gave me an entire list of all the paint problems and inconsistencies and inaccuracies that all the figures have, which just gave me a perfect guideline into how to talk about this for the video. So thank you to him. Really appreciate his help. Let's get to it. First things first, I want to talk about a consistent problem across the board, which is absolutely the worst thing: breakage. So one of the things I'm going to talk off the cuff on is breakage. This is 100% a common issue now, and I hate that because we are coming into year 4 of the line, and you know, people had issues with like Mighty Morphin Yellow, her neck socket coming out with the alternate head, or even the Ranger helmeted head. For example, for me, this is not a uncommon, unique issue here, but my Andros is busted. What happened here is the alternate head with the Ranger helmet, which is all blacked out. The ball socket inside this was too tight, so I popped it on, and I was like, cool, good to go. And I posed it to give him a mysterious stand, and then it came off. I turned the head, and instead of the ball joint inside the helmet turning, it turned the stem on the post, snapped it right off. So either this needs to be a lot thicker and a lot sturdier, or these sockets need to be a lot more open. Because in fact, when I was doing shots for this video, I went to swap out and put the civilian heads onto these figures, and a lot of them won't pop on. The alternate head, whatever it's not packed with, takes a lot of force. And yes, we can boil water. Yes, we can heat it up with a hairdryer. There's methods around this. This is sort of becoming common with action figures, which sucks. But these are still branded with a 4+ rating. So imagine, you know, a kid picks up the figure, even if it is more expensive than a standard kid's figure, whatever, and they pop the head on, they go to pop the head off, and it breaks. Because of me, with all my toy knowledge, broke it just turning the head. Wasn't even doing hardly anything. It sucks. And I did get refunded from Target, in case anyone was curious. This was a Target exclusive. I got them from Target. I said, hey, this broke out of package. They're like, well, we're out of stock. You want just a refund? So I got a refund. So I got them for free, but every time I look at this figure, I'm just like, oh, right, that's the one that broke on me because I dared turn a head. Secondary to breakage is the issue of painted weapon handles. What I'm talking about here is when you have a weapon for Power Rangers, it's molded in one color and painted over to be another. Here's an example with SPD Pink. The paint has peeled off the weapon and transplanted itself on the inside of the hand. This has been a problem for pretty much the entire existence of the line. It's starting to get better. I'm noticing more weapons are being molded in the color of the handle as opposed to the color of any other part of it. So keep that in mind. It's something that's unavoidable. You can't really do anything to prevent the paint rub except not use the weapon. Now let's get to the hot button topic and the bulk of this section, paint inconsistency. Because, well, the thing about Power Rangers versus any other toy line is that there's sort of an expectation that, you know, the Rangers on a team are going to match each other when they have shared elements, such as boots or weapons. Unfortunately, there's a lot of inconsistencies amongst the teams, so let's take a look at some examples. Inconsistency number 1, the Zeo Male Rangers boot colors don't match. I don't understand. They're all white, but yet they're all different shades of white. The Zeo Power Pod swords are the first example I can say of this is designed by different people because all 4 of them are done differently. 2 of them are done in a lighter shade of blue, 1 has a gold tip, and then 2 of them are done in a darker shade of blue with 1 having a gold tip. It's bizarre. I can say though the Zeo power pistols are getting better somewhat because you have 1 on the far left which you can see is scraped up with all kinds of paint because it's just melted into the hand. The next one was molded in black plastic which helped, and then the next one was molded in white plastic which was painted like the first one, and then the next one after that was molded in black plastic which again worked out better and doesn't rub onto the hands as bad. Another weird detail with the Zeo Rangers, blue, who's the second one, as well as yellow, who's the most recent, have the extra gold right around the wrist, while as gold, who was the first, red, who was one of the third, and green, who was the fourth, don't. One of the most baffling inconsistencies is between In Space Yellow and Pink. These are 2 figures on the same mold that, outside of their helmets, should just be a simple color swap down below. But no, Yellow has a gold collar and has white going all the way into the joint of the shoulder, whereas Pink has a yellow collar, which is more accurate, and has the diagonal stripes on the shoulders. Pink is an improvement, sure, but it just seems weird that they kind of redid from the ground up because you also notice the chest squares are spaced out differently. This is usually one of those things where I'd think you just color swap yellow to make pink, but nope, entirely new design paint-wise. Another weird oddity here with the male Rangers is the shoulder stripe. So if you notice the white part on the shoulder, it's thinner on red, thicker on black, and a little thinner on blue. So with the Astro Blasters, it's a little confusing because we have 6 of them. Each one of these is painted and molded differently. Some are molded silver, some are molded blue, and the details are painted in. But this is the same accessory. You think you just copy and paste that paint design file for all of these. Instead, it seems like they've been redesigned every single time, which doesn't make any sense. That seems a bit like a waste of resources, in my opinion. Talking about Dino Thunder, the gold around the base of the collar is painted on blue, who came second, and not painted on red, who came first. And I have a theory for this. Because red has the white painted on the back of his hands, while blue doesn't, which says to me that they decided instead of having the white on the back of the hands, they'd rather have the gold collar. Fair warning, SPD is a giant mess, and let's begin with the morphers. So for the far left, we have the red Ranger's Morpher, which was done perfect. The next one to the right is Blue's, but a little muddied with the paint details. Moving one step to the right, there's Pink's, which for some reason is silver and the logo centered. What the heck? You already did it right once. You did it pretty dang good twice. Why is the third one a completely different accessory on the same mold? And then going forward one step to the right, Green's is lacking paint for the siren part, as well as missing the words. Also adding to it, the outer trim on the outside of the helmets should be silver, and it's kind of just all over the place. Blue has just got white lines because white and silver get interchanged in this line like they're the same color when they're not. And Green's is painted all wrong, and Pink's is painted all weird. Also of note, the visor trims around the black portion of each of the SPD Rangers helmets is wrong on all but Blue. It should be all the way around and white, but on the others, it's silver or not painted at all. The SPD chest badges, where it says SPD, are different sizes on all three of the male Rangers, and Pink's has got a black background instead of silver. I don't like to complain about blast effects not being consistent, but for A Squad, red comes with red, green comes with green, yellow comes with yellow, pink comes with pink, and then blue comes with a green one. Also, the A Squad helmets are all over the place. Red, green, and yellow have silver visor trims, whereas blue has a white visor trim. And this may be nitpicky, but blue's blaster has 2 extra painted lines that the others don't. So definitely a paint budget issue. So what is my theory as to why there's so many inconsistencies? And keep in mind, I have no idea how Hasbro's design team's hierarchy or their workflow or what the process is behind the scenes, because they've never explicitly told us. All I know is a lot of information about researching how toys are made and listening to interviews with other toy makers from other companies, as well as people within Hasbro, past and present. I can only provide what I can theorize based on what I'm seeing with the figures, as well as what I know about the process. My theory is this. When it comes down to making Power Rangers Lightning Collection, the people who are in charge of design, the artists designing the figures, which is going to be the paint and, the details, which is where the most problems have come up, are being assigned a wave as opposed to being assigned a team. For example, there could very much be the situation of Artist A works on wave 8, Artist B works on wave 9, Artist C works on wave 10. As opposed to Artist A works on In Space, Artist B works on SPD, and Artist C works on Dino Thunder. Personally speaking, if I had the magical, horrible experience of having to be a brand manager or lead designer on a massive toy line for a major corporation, I would probably delve out the work by Ranger team. Instead of having different people working on the same Ranger team, I'd have one person design all the characters for that team, or say, hey, all right, wave 8's coming up. We've got a Dino Thunder Ranger in here. You worked on Dino Thunder before. Here, you designed Dino Thunder Blue. Or you worked on an SPD Ranger before. Here, design SPD Pink. However it's done, my theory is that there's not a consistency done with the people working on each Ranger team. And unfortunately, because of how long this has gone on, including a change in lead designer and brand manager for Power Rangers, there seems to be some point in the process that is missed to oversee and check the work for these type of details that fans are going to care about, that fans are looking for, that the average audience may not. And the fact it hasn't been addressed yet and it hasn't gotten any better has me worried that it's either not getting checked well or is not being checked because they're not worried about it. And I can't say for sure, but that's just what I'm feeling. As a fan of these figures who wants to keep buying them, it feels like somewhere in the process, that extra step, that extra little step to make sure these are the best that they possibly can be is missing. But on that note, we're moving away from the negative stuff. Let's talk about the figures we got this year. There were 29 in total. I picked up 23. I wanted to have 25, and we'll talk about those two when we get to them. We're going to be going through all the retail releases in wave number order, followed up with the exclusives. Let's get to it. Lightning Collection 2021 truly begins now. All right, everybody, let's shake off that negativity and get to talking about the good things about these figures. Starting with the Zeo Green Ranger, kicking off wave 8. Zeo Green here looks great. I think the overall look came together pretty nice. And you know what? I do like the Zeo body mold they've used. It does portray that really cool tech detail. And even looking at the helmet up close, it's well sculpted, and I do appreciate the attention to detail. It is got that similar issue that some figures have where there's scratches on the helmet, but I think that's just a production problem. So naturally, he does come with his 2 power axes because we're not skipping the Zeo weapons anymore, which is great. And unfortunately, the handles are a bit thick, so the hands used for him have molded out into this really open position, which means getting him to hold the pistol and the sword for this shot was tricky. That being said, I'm going to be using the axes for the most part, so it's not too much of a problem. Also, his unmasked head is not bad. I think, honestly, in general, the unhelmeted heads this year have improved. They have a lot better actor likeness than they once had. Next up, we have Galaxy Red. Now, Galaxy Red is getting a re-release from his 2-pack version, which I don't have out for a comparison. I apologize, I just couldn't find it. It's mostly the same figure outside of his accessories. And it looks really good. The QC was much better here, so the painted details came out a lot sharper and cleaner, which I'm really glad to see. The big accessory he comes with, which is why we know this as the Quasar Launcher version, is the Quasar Launcher, seen here in its extended melee mode. This is one of the most beautifully sculpted, beautifully detailed, fully decked out accessories in the Lightning Collection line, and I love it. He can hold it on his shoulder, and it comes with a very specific blast effect for the Quasar Launcher, and I just really love this thing. I hope there's no downsides. He does, of course, come with the short version of the Quasar Saber to put in the holster, and naturally comes with the long wait, no, he doesn't. Yeah, for some reason, he doesn't come with the full extended Quasar Saber, and why not? You already have the mold. It's done. It's painted. You could just reuse the asset from the 2-pack. Why is it not included? Well, we got a new Leo unmasked head. Look, if you're asking me, I would have taken the Quasar Saber over any unmasked head, and if you're not going to be sculpting new parts, 2 recycled parts being the head and the Quasar Saber equals 1 new head? I don't think we needed this, and it bugs me that there's no Quasar Saber included. I'm glad that I have the 2-pack version to have the Quasar Saber, but for those that don't, this is a problem. Next up, we have Dino Thunder Blue. Now, Dino Thunder Blue, I think actually turned out pretty nice. The overall look of the figure, I think, is an improvement over Red because, you know, there's added details like the gold collar piece. And overall, I like the way the helmet turned out. Even if all the Dino Thunder Rangers have the wrong color visor trim, with it being silver instead of white, I think it looks good. And as long as it stays silver on all of them, I'm not going to complain too much. He naturally does come with his Triceramax blaster and the sword form of it, as well as a reuse of Beast Morpher's Gold's effect part, which sort of fits on the end, but not well. I've also noticed that the hands are kind of getting messed up by the accessories. The plastic on the hands feels cheaper than other figures, so keep that in mind. I'm noticing stress marks and some weird pinching of the accessories when I try to use them. That being said, he does come with the Tricera shield, which has an extending spike, and it looks really good attached to his arm. I'm actually pretty impressed with this thing. Fully painted and fully detailed, unlike the Tyranno staff, this works out really nice. I like that Dino Thunder seems to be getting a little bit extra treatment, and I love that an accessory this large was included with this figure. So overall, the unmasked head isn't bad. I actually think the unmasked heads in general are getting better with likeness. And that's not to say that they're exact one-for-one, this is the actor's face put onto a figure, but that they resemble the character. You look at it and you're like, hey, that's Ethan, as opposed to some others we'll look at later on, and some in the past. Rounding out Wave 8, we have SPD Pink. We already talked about some of the paint problems earlier, so I'm going to skip over them because that's depressing. Overall, though, she looks nice. I think the body mold really works well for the SPD Rangers, and, you know, I like the way that Pink turned out for the most part. The missing visor trim is kind of a problem, and the SPD badge being the wrong color and not molding the one on the shoulder, those are knocks against the figure, unfortunately. But she does come with her weapons, which has the pistol combination of the grip as well as the striker baton. And then the striker baton itself does have that generic spark effect that really never fitted on anything better than, you know, axe-based characters or things like Saba. You know, I actually like the baton form of this weapon, and it gives her a lot of dynamic posing options. She also does come with the Morpher, but not a specific hand to hold it, so she just kind of holds it like a phone, but there it is. It's silver. I don't know why. And you know what? Again, likeness is not bad. It's not perfect, but it resembles the character and it's recognizable as Sid. Kicking off Wave 9 is the figure that I put on my top 12 best figures of 2021, the Tango Warrior. And allow me to indulge in my favorite Lightning Collection figure of the year. This guy is amazing. Just the amount of detail and the amount of sculpting and paint work on this figure is just so cool. And details down to an opening mouth just gives this so many expressive options. They're also substantially sized, but unlike the monster assortment, they're not oversized. Yeah, they're a little bigger than the Rangers, but it's a believable a little bigger. If this is a guy in a suit, it's a big suit. He also comes with a ton of accessories, including the Tenga egg, and also the generic lightning effect in some strange color that I'm never going to use. What's also neat is that you can actually change out the wings, so instead of being these shorter wings, they can be these fully blown, expanded wings that just look gorgeous and beautiful, especially with all that metallic paint. And yeah, having two different options for the Tengas is great. You can have different varieties if you're army building. Also, just look at that metallic paint shimmer in the light. It's gorgeous. I really can't believe that this is a $22 Lightning Collection figure painted this well and this detailed. And look at all 4 Tengas here that I got. Yes, I bought 4. I love this figure, and I kept picking them up. There was several, sales and deals. I don't army build hardly for most lines, but I was like, I need more Tengas, and I love this figure. And yes, of course, they look great facing down some Rangers. These are gonna look fantastic, especially with the Ninjetti Rangers coming up, and I hope there's no problems with those figures whatsoever. I'm not talking with future experience. No, don't listen to me too much, but the Tenga Warrior is amazing. Continuing Wave 9, we have In Space Black. In Space Black turned out pretty good. I think he's probably the best looking of the In Space Rangers as an overall figure. A lot of the details are seemingly more accurate than previous and future figures. And you know what? I'm not going to knock anything on it. It looks good. Naturally, he comes with an Astro Blaster, which of course is molded and painted completely different than all the previous versions. And then he comes with his Lunar Lance and an exclusive effect for it. It's actually got notches to fit over the Lunar Lance, and it's to do the swoosh effect from the series. And you know what? The Carlos likeness isn't bad. It's not great per se, but overall, it could be a lot worse. I'm gonna be less harsh on the civilian heads. It's tricky capturing likeness, and they've done a decent job this year. Next up, Galaxy Blue. It's nice to get another Galaxy Ranger, as we've had just Magna Defender and Red for couple years now, and I'm glad to see the team continuing. And this one's really nice. There's really no paint inconsistency problems with the base body. And in fact, they fixed one of the details from the prototype, which was that the top part of the visor was white instead of silver, so it's all silver as it should be. And he comes with his Quasar Saber, which has the gorilla part painted onto the sword, so it's very well detailed and very accurate to the source material. He also comes with a cool lightning effect. This one I think came with Dino Charge Gold or Dino Charge Red, but it looks really nice on the Quasar Saber. And instead of a Quasar launcher, he comes with a Trans Dagger in Claw mode. So he can't do Quasar launcher stuff with Leo, but he has a Trans Dagger, which Leo didn't come with, and I don't know what Damon's gonna come with, or Maya, or Kendricks, or Corona. You know what? We may just need a Lost Galaxy accessory pack at some point. And overall, once again, likeness is pretty good. I really don't have any complaints. I think the Galaxy Rangers in general, both Leo and Kai here, turned out nice as likenesses. So I hope that keeps going, because this is how these figures should look. Rounding out Wave 9, we have SPD Green. Overall, a solidly looking figure. I think he's got some weird offness to him, and I think it's something to do with the helmet and the shape of it. But overall, I mean, you look at it, that is SPD Green, there's no doubt about it. He does, of course, come with his SPD Morpher, which, like I mentioned prior, is missing the lines and words, but, at least it's the right color, unlike pinks. He does come with the Delta Max Striker, which is a reuse of all the parts from SPD Blue, which means it's not 100% accurate, but the gun form does come with a blast effect at least. And it doesn't have the sword form because the sniper part is not a sword. I'm sorry, but this is not even an accessory he needs. He does not use the sniper configuration. He uses this one in a sword formation, which looks different, acts different, is molded different. They just reuse parts from Blue. It's not great. It just doesn't look right. But his likeness, not bad. I think the head sculpt is decent, and the general likeness to the character is there. Kicking off Wave 10, we have Zeo Ranger 2 Yellow, who looks really nice. I really think that she's probably one of the best looking Zeo Rangers overall, and the entire way the body has been sculpted and painted is fantastic. Even down to the helmet. I think the helmet is kind of a weird shape in general, but they got it to look symmetrical and look even, and the chest details work out pretty good on the female body mold, more so than I expected. Naturally, she does come with the standard Zeo loadout, which is pistol plus power pod sword plus blast effect. And she comes with the power nunchucks, which, if you can see here, are incredibly rubbery, which means they won't bend or break, I think, over time. They seem sturdy. And yeah, they're nunchucks. They're powerful. pose of them's a little weird because her elbows have limited articulation due to the female body mold for this line, but she looks good. And overall, the Tanya likeness isn't bad. I think it actually looks like the character, and the hair is really nicely sculpted, so no complaints here. Next up, we have the Phantom Ranger, who is an entirely new mold and would be one of the first Power Rangers figures to include pinless joints, where you don't see the pins on the outside. Boy, is he nice. It's hard to convey in a video, but the way this guy poses and articulates is so much better than the average Lightning Collection figure because that pinless joints provides a more seamless and a smoother transition to posing the figure. It doesn't lock up like some of the other figures do. I would say he's a little tall, but not too tall. He's a little bit taller than the standard male body mold. He's around the size of the Dino Charge mold, which again, for some reason is a little taller. They're all about the same size though. But that being said, he does come with a Turbo Navigator in pistol mode, which is a thing I think a Bandai of America toy had that he got in Legacy Wars that showed up in Heroes of the Grid. So it gets around, but he never uses in the show. But I'm glad that it was included because otherwise this guy would just be coming with hands. He also comes with a blast effect to go on the end of the Turbo Navigator, which is new and actually looks pretty nice, better than the standard pistol blast effect. It also plugs into his chest for his Power Ruby, which that's cool. And then for some reason, he also includes a blast effect for his chest, which is the Z-Pudgy one. I don't really know why. Maybe because when he lost his Power Ruby, he was powering down, but he never really exploded in the show, which is definitely what this is. But I won't turn down an accessory I can use somewhere else, and he's not missing anything he did have in the show for the most part, and you know what, that's better than most of the figures in this line. Next up, In Space Pink. And In Space Pink, honestly, looks pretty good. I think the overall figure does look better than Space Yellow. It's definitely an improvement, and the body sculpt itself works for this mold, even if we're still having that inconsistent pink color across the figure. But what can you do? We just gotta get used to weird production things such as that. She does, of course, come with the Astro Blaster, once again molded in a completely different way than the other Astro Blasters, and her Satellite Stunner with an exclusive effect for it. Don't see this effect getting reused, so it specifically is for Cassie. Now, the unmasked head sculpt is somebody else. It's not Cassie. It doesn't look like her. I think they roughly got the hair correct for some episode of the show, but the face just doesn't look like her. It looks like somebody else. It doesn't look like the character. I look at it, I'm like, who's that supposed to be? That being said, the hair is braided on the back, which is a nice little detail. Rounding out Wave 10 is Dino Charge Green. I like the Dino Charge body mold more than the standard one, so I'm always glad to see it come up again. And there's still plenty more uses down the line. I really like Dino Charge Green overall. I think he turned out pretty good. The helmet's kind of a weird design, and I think the Bandai America Dino Charge figures never really nailed it. But honestly, Lightning Collection did a pretty good job here. I'm not going to dock it for anything there. He, of course, comes with the Dino Charge Morpher, which is the blaster that he basically never uses. But he, of course, comes with his Dino Saber, plus a cool green energy effect. And you know what? No complaints here. I love the posability on this mold, and I'm glad that he can get into those really low crouch, reverse grip poses that Dino Charge Green is known for. Also, props to them for including an exclusive hand for his poses. I like seeing those little details added. And overall, the likeness isn't bad either. It's just like the other Dino Charge figures, probably some of the best in the line. And really, I have no complaints, and it's good. The Dino Charge figures are so far so good. Kicking off our Versus 2-packs, let's start with the reuse, which is Mighty Morphin Yellow. This is the same figure that I previously reviewed from previous years. If you haven't seen that, go check my playlist of Power Rangers reviews. The only real difference this time is that she comes with red blast effects as opposed to yellow ones. She comes with 2 daggers, but for some reason on mine, one of them is normal and one of them looks like the one from the Metallic Armor Yellow Ranger. Some parts mix-up must have happened here. This is kind of bizarre. I hope it's a one-off. She does come with the Sword Form of the Blade Blaster, which has not been seen very much in this line. And she comes with an Aisha head. And I mentioned necks breaking on figures earlier. I didn't want to swap it onto this figure because Mighty Morphin Yellow is notorious for having breaking necks. Didn't want to risk it, so here's Aisha's head next to a picture of the actress. So it's a decent likeness overall. The real winner of this set is Scorpina, because outside of some non-posable figures, the only other action figure she's gotten was in the Imaginext line. But Scorpina turned out fantastic. Yeah, you gotta buy a Mighty Morphin Yellow again if you already had her, but hey, this Scorpina's pretty dang awesome. Completely new mold, everything's detailed, wonderful actress likeness. In fact, I'm pretty impressed, because I felt like, Rita wasn't quite on spot, but Scorpina here, pretty awesome. And I gotta say, her weapon included, perfect. Plus extra hands for posing, awesome. The effect part also isn't bad. Nice lightning effect for her to use here. And she can square off against Mighty Morphin Yellow in that famous episode. I know Scorpina's only in one episode of season 2, and I don't remember fighting Aisha like this, but I'm not going to question it too much. I appreciate the Scorpina, and it's a good chance for Mighty Morphin Yellow to get out again for those that don't have her. Moving into our next 2-pack, we have In Space Blue, which is rounding out the main In Space team. And honestly, In Space Blue turned out nice. Now, if you don't want to buy this guy with Psycho Silver, he is coming out exactly the same figure, the same exact accessories, but with a Galaxy glider in 2022. So if you don't want Psycho Silver and you want a glider instead, there's a $30 package sitting there for you. Overall, though, he comes with an Astro Blaster, again, molded and painted differently than the others. He does come with his power axe and that little spark effect that we keep seeing that I wish we could replace because it's not that interesting. And he has a TJ head, which, again, decent enough likeness. You look at it, it's TJ. Is it a perfect match? Not exactly, but it resembles the character. The other figure of the 2-pack, which is now apparently the draw to the 2-pack, is Psycho Silver, which Psycho Silver is not officially, quote-unquote, a Psycho Ranger. It was a ruse by Zane the Silver Ranger in the Psycho Ranger saga of In Space, and hey, it's yes another reason to use the Psycho Ranger mold. You can just change the color to anything for the male Psycho Rangers, and they've done it again, and it looks pretty nice. He does, of course, come with the Lightning Hand, which this one is a reuse of Psycho Blacks from the 5-pack, as opposed to the one that came with red and blue. He also comes with his Psycho Silverizer, which looks super sweet. There is no in-universe explanation for how Zane made this Psycho Silver costume, but I'm just gonna say that just like in Star Trek, they have clothing replicators. Also, it's got a head sculpt. I think this looks incredibly angry for Zane. This is a character I always associate with him being like smiling and peppy and happy, even in the most dire of circumstances. So this really gruff, angry face is kind of strange. It's almost like someone didn't understand the assignment and thought that Zane turned evil. Point is, this 2-pack overall represents a famous episode of the Psycho Ranger arc, and I like it. You know, even though those two are technically allies, they do fight against each other in the episode, so it works out. So iGuy was a little slow to market, so the only monster we got this year was Pudgy Pig. Now this was the source of controversy because the initial release of this was solicited as the PulseCon exclusive version that was like $60, and all it came with was a box that looked like a lunchbox and some extra food. But for the normal $32 price, you can get a Pudgy Pig at retail. He looks great. And the articulation, actually pretty surprising. I thought this guy might be a little more limited than some of the other figures, but outside of the fact that he has no torso and he just has a giant head, he works out pretty good. The articulation's really great and pretty impressive. He also, of course, comes with the knife and fork that he had in the series that carried forward from the Jew Ranger footage, and alternate hands, so you can have open hands or these holding hands. But no hands with the tiny hands inside of them, which is a little bit of a missed opportunity. He does come with a cool effect part, which looks like, you know, just green energy on a knife. Not something I'm going to use that much, but honestly, it's pretty cool. And you can see that next to Mighty Morphin White, he is substantial, but not too substantial. I do feel like this is closer in scale than some of the other monsters, and I do appreciate the effort on that regard. And oh no, he's eating him, isn't he? Yeah, it's kind of fun. You can actually have a ranger sit inside Pudgy Pig's mouth. There is enough room to at least consume the head of a ranger, which is pretty awesome. You can put all kinds of things inside Pudgy Pig, and that's pretty neat. It's really fun and makes a really cool action figure. Starting off our exclusives was the first Best Buy exclusive with SPD A-Squad Green. Why it wasn't A-Squad Yellow at Best Buy, I have no idea, but here is green. And he looks good. I mean, it's the same mold as A-Squad Blue, so it works, I mean, for the most part. Close up, you can see, you know, I've already talked about the helmets thing, so I'm not going to worry about that too much, but the details are there. It's just really strange seeing the in-space black helmet in green, but that's just how it is in the show. He, of course, comes with the same blaster as Blue and a blast effect. That's about it. There's really not much to the A-Squad. If you want them, you want them. If you don't, you can move on by. Next up, an exclusive to GameStop, which was the SPD A-Squad Pink Ranger. I have this on order from Hasbro Pulse, and apparently she's not shipping till March 1st, which is why I don't have her for the video. I will follow up with this later in a different video, but A-Squad Pink, while all the promo pictures, the CG render, the packaging art, and the official Hasbro live stream showing the figure in person had the correct rounded visor that matched In Space Pink, the final figure had the same exact visor shape as A Squad Red, and that is completely inaccurate and completely wrong, and they should fix that. In addition to the fact this is probably the one shot we have at this character, and it's wrong. It's just the helmet is completely done wrong, and it's honestly kind of shameful. Next up, we have fan channel exclusives, this time A Squad Yellow. Now, A Squad Yellow, again, same thing I said with green. It's the A Squad Blue body mold. It's nicely detailed. It looks like A Squad Yellow. There's no major issues with this one. He looks good. He has the same gun. He has the blast effect. Sometimes these Rangers have trouble holding their guns because the handle is a bit too thick and the grip is a little too wide. But you know what? Overall, they work for what they are. It's the A Squad. I like having them because they never had figures before, but I have nothing else to say. Released alongside A Squad Yellow as a fan channel is A Squad Red. She looks good. I sort of wish we had a less feminine body mold to match the show a little closer, because there was that whole mystery of, you know, who is the A Squad, and then they revealed it as, oh, it's an A Squad, A is a woman. But, you know, it still works for the fact that they have the body mold match the character. It would have been cool to get an unmasked head with this one, just because she was the one that we saw unmasked more than the others. And I honestly would have liked unmasked heads for the rest of them, but that's a little more investment into A Squad than I think Hasbro is willing to do. And the fact we even got them is kind of amazing. They are villain Rangers that had like a total of 4 episode appearances, I think, so I'm glad we got them. The team is complete in this year, which is good, aside from the fact that blue doesn't match the rest. Alright, starting off the Hasbro Pulse exclusives, we have the Zeo Cog 2-pack. Now this was interesting because this kind of came out of nowhere. It was announced during, I think, the Power Morphicon at home stream, and then it was suddenly up on Hasbro Pulse, which makes me think it may have been an exclusive for that convention before things changed. But you get the silver Zeo Cog, which was from O-Ranger, and the red one, which was made for Power Rangers. They do come with a ton of accessories: 2 short staffs, 2 long staffs, 2 destruction effects, 2 punch effects, 2 heads with the visors lifted up for the crazy blast eyes, and then all the hands duplicated. So you're not missing out on anything. Overall, the silver Cog looks great. I think he looks fantastic. He has the spear, as he should, and honestly, no complaints here. But if you want a single Cog, there is a silver Cog coming out in 2022 with Zeo Blue's Tonfas. So keep that in mind if you're looking for this 2-pack. The red one, which is going to stay exclusive to this set, works out. It's a Power Rangers exclusive. He never used the staff parts because of the nature of the show, but you could pose him with that because it's action figures. Have fun. But you know what? I like the Cogs overall. They look pretty good. And they look good with the destruction effects. The Zeo Rangers fighting them just looks more dynamic with those chest parts added, and I think that should be included with a lot of the foot soldiers because it just adds dynamicism to the shelf. Now the next 4 exclusives I'm going to talk about in a broad sense. These are the metallic armor red, blue, black, and yellow Rangers. I initially pre-ordered these and thought about getting them, but as my, enthusiasm of the line kind of waned and the $25 price point started to set in a little bit, I opted to cancel all 4 of these. They make nice companions to the metallic pink that we had before that I still have, and I'm sure metallic white will be coming later sometime, but there also was an inconsistency problem where I was noticing people that got these said that the glove and boot color doesn't match pink. Like red, blue, black, and yellow match, but then they don't match pink, so I opted to just not get these. We talked about him in the beginning because of his breakage. Let's talk about Andros as a figure. Exclusive to Target, he was initially really hard to get, but ended up shelf warming, it looked like, in a lot of areas. I like what they were attempting here. Let's do a civilian Andros. Let's give him the cloak that he had in the show frequently. It turned out all right. The head sculpt is reused from the previous Andros release, and that's fine, because honestly, it's a good head sculpt overall for the look of the character. He also does come with this really cool blacked out in-space red head, which I would have liked to have used, except that's the thing that caused the figure to break. And the body underneath is actually kind of neat. I like the overall black suit look to it. And accessories-wise, he comes with the Astro Blaster, the Spiral Saber, as well as an effect part for the Spiral Saber that's reused from a Goldar. Let's talk about In-Space Silver. This was a unmitigated disaster from communication, to public relations, to marketing, to availability, to pretty much everything except for the fact this is a figure that I have seen nothing but absolute praise for. People have said it's the best Ranger in the line. Head sculpt is like spot on. He's not missing any accessories, not missing any paint detail. Practically a perfect Lightning Collection figure. And as of this recording, Hasbro has never announced it. And this is where my problem is. This is a Walgreens exclusive. Walgreens has started dropping Power Rangers from their planogram. In my area, for example, I've visited 9 Walgreens in the last couple months, and each of them have removed the tag for Power Rangers Lightning Collection, which means Walgreens isn't holding up the end of the deal. I've not heard any reports of people finding this figure in Walgreens stores. I have not found it. It has not come up on the Walgreens website. The only place it has been available, and the only reason why it's on the 2021 list, is because Hasbro Pulse sold this on their website 4 separate times. But all 4 times, they sold it exclusive to Hasbro Pulse Premium members for an hour, in which the figure sold out within that hour. All 4 times. And all 4 times were unannounced prior and were surprise drops. I don't have this figure. I really wanted this figure. And he is nearly impossible to get because Walgreens hasn't held up their end of the deal and actually sold the figure in any capacity in the US. And Hasbro Pulse keeps making it exclusive for people that want to spend $50 a year to get basically a lottery chance at buying toys that should just be available for everybody. But I'm really upset at how Hasbro handled this whole thing, and it honestly nearly broke me, as many people could see on Twitter. This upset me quite a bit, and I nearly did drop the line over this debacle.
It's morphin' time. Tyrannosaurus.
All right, team update for Metallic Armor. We have 5 of the 6 Rangers for this team. Also from Mighty Morphin, here's our updated look at Rita and her goons.
Zeo Ranger 5, red.
Update to Zeo, we are 1 figure away from completion, and we start the Machine Empire with the Cogs, and hopefully we'll get more Machine Empire villains in the future.
Shifted to Turbo.
Turbo gets its start with the Phantom Ranger, even if Hasbro put In Space on the box.
Let's rock it.
And In Space is complete for those that were able to get the elusive white rabbit known as the In Space Silver Ranger. And an update to Psycho Rangers, there's Psycho Silver along with the rest of the Psychos.
Go, Galactic.
Lost Galaxy, we now have half the team.
Dino Thunder, power up.
Dino Thunder is also almost done. We're just missing Black and Yellow.
SPD, Emergency.
And SPD, for all of its faults, is almost done. Also, A-Squad is complete.
Unleash the power.
And Dino Charge is moving along. So now it's come time to do my top 10 figures of the year. This one was a little tough because I found there was less unique, interesting figures, but here we go. Number 10, Psycho Silver. Number 9, Dino Thunder Blue. Number 8, Zeo Green. Number 7, In Space Black. Number 6, Zeo Cog. Number 5, Pudgy Pig. Number 4, Dino Charge Green. Number 3, Scorpina. Number 2, the Phantom Ranger. And number 1, as always, the Tango Warrior. That's my top 10. Let me know what yours is in the comments below. I don't mean to be negative, and I don't want to be overly negative, but this year did kind of sour my Lightning Collection experience. Between all the crazy delays, between all the just stupid stuff that happens, when the figures show up and they're weirdly painted, there's things missing, details are gone, Andros' head breaks, it just starts to lower the excitement of the overall line. I want to say that only a couple figures this year felt satisfactory. Phantom Ranger, Tenga, Pudgy Pig, Scorpina? Yeah, no, Scorpina, I had to buy another Mighty Morphin Yellow, so everything's been kind of lukewarm for me. But I'm hoping this line's going to get back up on its feet. I hope that Hasbro takes some of the feedback the fandom is putting out there. I also hope that Hasbro shows this stuff before it's already in a packaged sample, because by that point it's too late for any of our input to be seen or heard. So hopefully, when I do this next video for the Lightning Collection in 2023 to cover 2022, I have a lot more positive things to say. I would really love for next year's video to be upbeat, happy, excited. That being said, I'm so excited for the Zord Ascension project and the Zap Megazord coming out in June or August or whatever. I'll be doing a whole separate video on that. We'll be covering it in its own detailed, wonderful little review. I'm very excited to do that when that comes in, and I hope it lives up to the hype, because if it doesn't, I'm probably going to crawl into a hole and cry for at least an hour. But that's the future. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit the notification bell and the subscribe button to keep up with future uploads. I'm going to do some more Power Rangers stuff on the channel. My enthusiasm for the brand has been non-existent lately, so there hasn't been a whole lot, but I do have a lot of past Power Rangers videos that you may want to check out. And that does it for this video. So leave a comment below, have a conversation, leave your thoughts down below, tell me that I'm wrong for calling out Hasbro on problems with the line that have existed for 3 years. Whatever makes you feel happy. Also, thank you to everyone that already subscribes, likes the videos, watches all of them. You all are amazing. So on that note, Be sure to check out Hero Club at hero-club.com for Power Rangers news and more. And check out my awesome graphic designer on Twitter at darkclaw643. And until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.